Alright, hello everybody. This is the Crunchy Fat, and today this is the finale of What If Female Deku Was Muzan. Now, I believe where we last left off was during the dorm room competition. So, we'll pick up after that with them beginning their final exam. No, wait, hold on. Did I do the final exam or did I do the final? Yeah, I did the final exam already. Never mind, we're moving on with them going into the 4th training camp with Miyu and Yorichi sitting together and discussing the events of their exams, going over what they could have done better. Like maybe they could have tried to be a bit more quiet. All Might would have found them as quickly home. Alright, I'm back. With them discussing what they could have done better. As they would arrive at the training camp with Miyu. I'm not sure if this is one of Muzan's abilities, but I'm going to say it. That is, she can hear about 4 heartbeats, like 4 extra heartbeats out from the rest of the group, as she would turn around to see where the heartbeats are coming from, as she would see the members of the Wild Pussycats with her looking in surprise because she didn't expect that they would be here this quickly. With the Wild Pussycat saying the same things they did in canon, basically telling them tell them that the same thing they did in canon, like you need to get to that point before sunset, I believe it was. I think it was sunset, I don't know. As everyone is launched off the side of the cliff, as Miyu would shift into her full power mode, as she would send her boned spikes into the cliffside to slow her descent, as Yorichi would try to aim for the trees for the leaves to soften his fall, and for him to possibly grab a branch. As this would end up happening, with Yorichi's descent being slowed and him grabbing onto a tree branch, which bent, allowing him to land on the ground safely, with Miyu coming down from the cliff as she basically stops, with them all headed into the forest sorry about that, as once they approach into the forest, they encounter the beasts in the forest, with Miyu dealing with the one she was facing by basically just decapitating it, and Yorichi doing the same with his. With everybody who was there taking note of their skill and prowess, as it'd be like they have done this before, as the mud creatures would basically just collapse into mud again, with me picking up some of the mud and and sniffing it, stating that this has the Wild Wild Pussycats all over it. This is probably a test for us to get through, see how well we can get through the forest. Follow us, we'll go around. As everyone would follow them, as they would make it around the forest, and make it to the campsite, just before sunset. As they'd be surprised that they don't look that worn out, as everyone would say that they just went around the forest. With them being surprised by this, as they would then meet Kota, with Yorichi going up to greet Kota, with him immediately getting punched where the sun don't shine, with me immediately rushing over to Yorichi and catching him as he collapses, with Miyu asking Yorichi if he's alright, as he says, "I think I hear my grandmother calling me," as Miyu would say, "Stop joking around," as she would just drop him on the ground. As she would be giggling a bit as Yorichi was getting back up, as she would hold out her hand, as she would say, "Come on, big guy, get up." With everybody else, with everyone thinking, I ship it. This is my OTP right here. And they would begin their quirk training, with Miyu and Yorichi practicing their fighting each other to expand their arsenal of skills. With Yorichi ending up slicing off one of her boned spikes, as it would grow back eventually, as the fight would continue, with them going at 100%, as they would both call it a day. With them noting that it took them a lot longer to get to full power than it did in the sports festival. As we then get to the onsen scene, with Miyu back in her normal state, with them with the girls just talking about Miyu's fighting style and wondering if they can learn it. With Miyu saying that if you're going to try and learn my fighting style, you're going to end up breaking your bodies before you could even learn one part of it. Now Momo, in her never-ending crusade to try and best Miyu, would say, "It's not that difficult." As Miyu would look at her and say, "Well, if you think it's so easy, then why don't you try it then?" With them both just glaring at each other, with a lot of the girls thinking, "Oh no, this is going to end horribly." With Miyu picking up a racing heartbeat, heading up the wall, as Miyu would say, "Mina's climbing up the wall," as all the girls would take this as a warning, as they'd all put their towels back on, with Kota knocking Mina off the wall like he did in Canon, as Miyu would thank Kota for that, Actually, yeah, Miyu and Mina would thank Kota for that. And since they're wearing their towels, Kota doesn't fall over like he does in canon. As they would then continue with their training. As the next day, they're told, as in that day, they were told that they'd be making their own meals from now on. With Miyu and Yoriichi immediately on this, as they would immediately whip up the curry with Yoriichi using his fire to using his breath of the sun to ignite the fire, and once he done with that, he was helping Miyu with everything else. As that's how that day would end, with Miyu taking up a plate that she had made to Kota, as Kota would give his reasons to why he hates heroes. As Miyu would see this, as Miyu would say that the hero system is flawed indeed, but that doesn't mean that people who want to become future heroes can change it. If the hero system, you say, truly is corrupt and is bad, then what's stopping you from changing it? With Miyu standing up and saying, "I will leave you with those words," as she would then walk back to the sleeping area, with those words repeating in Kota's head for the rest of the night. Then we'll get to when the League of Villains attacks the training camp with now, since the League of Villains had exhausted their supply of Nichiran metal, they don't have any more of it, so Miyu's going to be a lot harder to fight. With Miyu headed back up to where Kota was, as she would see Muscular there. As Muscular was about to kill Kota, when Miyu came into the rescue to prevent that, as Muscular would say, "So you're the one who defeated All For One. I saw the report, and I really want to fight you now. You'll put up a good fight." As Miyu would say, so you're the muscle head of the group, Muscular. I heard about you when I was kidnapped by the League, but I didn't see you there. Guess you must have been very scared of me. With Muscular getting infuriated by this, as he would charge towards Miyu, as Miyu would be dodging all of Muscular's hits, as when Muscular was going in for a punch, when Muscular realized that Kota was undefended, and he would go for Kota, with him throwing the punch, but it didn't hit Kota, and Muscular, as Kota was right there, but the punch didn't land, as Muscular would be confused, as he would look down to where his arm was, as it would be a stump. Now, it was right above the elbow, as Miyu would be holding Muscular's arm, as she said, looking for this, as she would then toss it off the side of the cliff, with Muscular going in for one final for his ultimate move, which he thought would kill Miyu. But it ends up doing the opposite. With one quick slash, Muscular was decapitated, as Miyu would be grabbing his head by the hair, as if she would say, "Now let these remaining couple seconds that your brain has activity allow you to reflect on what you have done," as she would basically drop Muscular's head off the side of the cliff, along with the rest of Muscular's body. As Koda would be amazed by how easily Miyu dealt with Muscular, as Miyu would pick up Koda and say, "Come on, we need to get going," as she would make a mad dash for where the rest of the pros were, dropping Koda off with Aizawa just as Aizawa beat the Dabi clones. As Miyu would say that she dealt with Muscular, but she defeated Muscular, but he ran off, as this was obviously a lie, as Miyu would begin to run, as she would hear Mandalay's signal for people to use their quirks, as Yorichi would have said to Mandalay, send everyone a message saying that they can use their quirks. As Yorichi is currently having a duel with Spinner, as Miyu would jump in and start dealing with Magni. Now, all the other League of Villains members, like Moonfish and Mustard, are dealt with as they are in canon, as Miyu would basically knock out Magni, as Toga would run out and try to stab Miyu in the back. Key emphasis on tried, as Miyu would have immediately turned around and elbowed her right in the gut, as this would knock Toga out, with Dabi still being there, as he calls for a retreat, as all the League of Villains members that were knocked out and near Kurogiri at the time would be warped away, as Shigaraki would be on the other side of the portal that he'd poke his head through. As Dabi walks through, Shigaraki would say that this isn't over, as the portal would disappear, as nobody was captured. Now, we get to Season 4. Now, if you guys remember the last part, the All-For-One fight happened earlier, so there is no All-For-One fight right here. So, next, we will cover the Overhaul arc. Now, unlike my other What Ifs, I won't be covering the movies in this one because the video would be way too long by then. Now, we will cover the Overhaul arc with Miyu, Yorichi, and Mirio headed for their internship with Night Eye, as they would reach the office. Midnight gave them the challenge of getting the stamp out of his hand, as so Night Eye would have grabbed Miyu and Yorichi's shoulders, as he would have seen that there were multiple results for this battle, as he couldn't tell which one was the true result. due to how unpredictable Muzan and Yoriichi can be. I mean Miyu and Yoriichi. As this would end with Miyu and Yoriichi grabbing the stamp, as Sir Nightai would have allowed them in on the internship. As Yoriichi, Miyu, and Mirio would be out on patrol, as a small girl with a horn and two red eyes with two red eyes would bump into her, as Miyu would reach out to her as this girl would begin to cower, as Overhaul would step out the shadows, as he would say, "I'm sorry that my daughter is causing this amount of ruckus," as he would know who Miyu is and know how powerful she is. So Overhaul currently has both of his hands behind his back as he's loading a gun with one of the quirk erasing bullets. As Miyu would have detected this, but she was going to play along. As she would say that it's not a problem, and that they were just out on patrol. They weren't really headed to an emergency or anything. As Overhaul would have finished loading his gun, as he would say, then the problem here is already dealt with, so I will be taking my daughter now. As he would be quickly, as Miyu would say, no, she seems a bit scared. She actually seems quite scared, so I think it would be best if she remains in the hero's custody for now. As she would say, now wouldn't that be nice, Overhaul? As he would immediately pull out the gun, as he would fire it, as it would hit Miyu in the neck. As Overhaul would say, try using your quirk now. As Miyu would immediately pull out the bullet and crush it, as she would smell it, as she would sense that it has the same smell as Airy, as Miyu would have basically crushed the bullet into basically dust, like a powder, as he would say, you are sick. Using this girl's blood to create a bullet that can erase quirks, you truly are the lowest scum on this planet. As Yoriichi would have gone and moved in for the attack, but a barrier would have been pulled up as the elite members of Overhaul's gang would be right behind him. As Miyu would tell Yoriichi and Mirio to call for reinforcements. With Mirio and Yoriichi agreeing to this, as they would immediately call for pro heroes to come to their location. As they would, and as Miyu would be fighting Overhaul, as she would have put Eri somewhere safe, as she's fighting with Overhaul, as Overhaul would be wondering how the hell is she still able to use her quirk even though she was hit with that bullet. As Miyu would have landed a punch on Overhaul's gut, as Overhaul would have been sent flying. As he would have then merged with the giant villain, with the giant Yakuza member, the one who gets stronger the more life force he takes. Yeah, he merges with that guy, as he would begin his continue his battle with Miyu, with her going into her 100% state, as she would end up dealing with Overhaul like that, as Yurichi would have dealt with the other members of his gang and eventually got through the barrier guy's barrier, as the elite members of Overhaul's gang would be arrested, as the rest of the events that happened in the anime would go as in canon, as we then get to the final battle with Miyu being in third year now, as this would be her final battle against Shigaraki, so the war arc happens a lot later. So this will be Miyu and Shigaraki's final battle to decide who will the future of Japan and Hero Society. With their battle being fierce, with Miyu using everything she has to deal with the all-for-one empowered Shigaraki, as eventually Miyu would have ended up fatally wounding the Nomu Shigaraki, as she would then end up devouring him through the same absorption that Doma did in the Demon Slayer manga. As this all happened at night, as the sun would rise, as Miyu would stand up victorious. As we will then cut a couple years into the future, with a young boy with black hair and red highlights at the end, red tips at the end of his hair, would run up to Yurichi and ask Papa, where is Mama? As Yurichi would say that she is quite busy and she will be back shortly, so don't worry about it. With the door opening up at the entrance of the home, with Miyu walking through the door, as the little boy would run up to her, hugging her on the leg, as he would say, "Mama, you're back." As Miyu would respond with, "Yes, I am," and that's most the crime dealt with today. As Yurichi would say, "It's not that fun being the number one hero now, is it?" As Miyu would say, "Nope, no it's not, but it's worth it. I get to come back home and see you every single day." As that is it. That's the end of this story. Now, I do hope you guys enjoyed the finale, as this was nearly 30 minutes. Now, later today, I will be uploading the first part of What If Female Deku with Alduin's sister. And I noticed that I looked at the count earlier, and the option number 3 was the highest count. But don't worry, for those of you who wanted option number 2, that will be put for a separate What If that I will release after the Alduin one. So I'll see you guys later.